Alright, good afternoon, Music World, and welcome to the newest episode of the Music World according to the Finschise. Let's get started. This bed is on fire with passion and love. The neighbors complain. Alright, so we're going to start off today by talking about an early 90s alternative rock album that I recently got the pleasure of listening to. It was actually very well done by a band called James. It's apparently they never really got popular over here in the U.S. that much. They're from the U.K., but apparently they got very popular over there in the early 90s. And this album here, Laid, is actually very, very, very well done. I mean, like, really spectacularly well done. And it completely went under the radar here. And, you know, at first I was completely blown away by the fact that that this wasn't recognized as one of the better alternative rock albums of the very early 90s. But then again, you know, you sit and think about it for a second, and there was a lot going on at this time in the world of music, and especially in the world of rock music. I mean, there was grunge, and, you know, the alternative airwaves, they were taken over by, you know, R.E.M. and Oasis and other bands like that, and it's a real shame that this band and this album completely went under the radar. But there's some really great softer, melodic, alternative rock tracks on here, so definitely check it out, guys. Alright, next up is one of my favorite of the newer rock groups, the Arctic Monkeys. Now, when the Arctic Monkeys came out with their first album, way back when, in 2004, 2005, whatever year it was, that debut album, Whatever People Say I Am, That Is What I'm Not, you couldn't escape that album, especially if you were into the alternative music field, you know. The songs from the album were played almost constantly on alternative radio stations, and just, it was talked about, and it was a massive hit all over the world. Now, this album here came out maybe a year and a half later, this album, Favorite Worst Nightmare. Now, the album as a whole is very good, but, you know, it's never, there's you know, there's a lot missing from it to be nearly as good as their debut album. But, you know, Brian Storm is a classic Arctic Monkeys track, and, you know, there's some other great tracks on here, like 505, Fluorescent Adolescent, D's for Dangerous. You know, there's a lot of good stuff on here. So, overall, not as good, not nearly as good as their unbelievable debut album, but this is definitely worth a listen, especially if you like their first album. On the way, trying to get where I like to stay. I'm always feeling a tear away. Someone trying to tell me what's... Alright, so continuing in the tradition of talking about music that I haven't posted on my blog yet, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite punk albums, and that's The Offspring's Ixnay on the Hombre. Now, The Offspring kind of ruled for quite some time in the 90s with that punk revival movement with Green Day and Sublime and other bands. The Offspring was right there with them, capitalizing on a great amount of singles. But to me, over the years, it seems like they haven't been really remembered for like a great album, because, you know, Smash, you know, it had Self-Esteem and others, but, you know, overall it wasn't that memorable of an album. You know, Americana, that wasn't that good either. But, however, Ixnay on the Hombre is, in my opinion, an unbelievable album from start to finish, and there's a lot of hidden gems. You know, there's All I Want on it, which was a big hit for The Offspring, and it was also in that game Crazy Taxi a couple of years back. As well, you know, there's other tracks on here as well, as like Far Away. But then again, there's also a lot of great hidden gems like The Meaning of Life and way down the line. There's a bunch of other great stuff on there. So as far as The Offspring goes, I'd say this is probably their most solid album. It's one of my punk favorites, so give it a check out, guys. Alright, so for today's showdown, we're talking about two albums from a band that basically ruled the punk airwaves in the late 90s and early 2000s. I'm talking about Blink-182, and their two classic albums, Enema of the State and Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Now, of the State, to me, is a classic. Both of these albums are classic, but Enema of the State came out first, you know. It has, like, their big hits, like What's My Age Again, and All the Small Things. But at the same time, you know, it has some awesome hidden gems, like, you know, Mud is on there, and Going Away to College, and Aliens Exist. There's so much good stuff on that album. And for me, it was Blink-182 at their funnest, you know. After that, they kind of toned it down a little bit, at least in my opinion. But Blink-182 was at their funnest on Enema of the State, in my opinion. And at their heaviest, too, I'd say.
So give me one good reason why we need to.
So next, I'm going to talk about Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Now this was the album that came after Enema of the State, a couple of years after. Now personally, I like the album. I like the album a lot, but my main problem with the album is that I don't really like the singles that came off it. I've never been a fan of The Rock Show, and I've never been a fan of First Date, and I think that Stay Together for the Kids was really unnecessary, and one of the, I don't know, I thought Adam's song was better as a softer Blink-182 song, but however, I will give Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. This has some awesome hidden gems, you know, Roller Coaster's on there, Give Me One Good Reason, Reckless Abandon is on there, you know, Anthem Part 2, one of the great Blink-182 songs. But overall, I think that the album is a little toned down from their older stuff, and I didn't like that, so that's what I got to say about that. Okay, so for me, I say that Enema of the State is the greatest Blink-182 album of all time, you know, from start to finish. It's just a lot of fun. You know, it's heavy, it's rebellious, it puts you in a great mood. You know, I don't think that Blink-182 will ever be able to do as good as they did on that album. So, sorry, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, but I think Enema of the State is a lot better.
No one's gonna love you more than I do, and anything to make you smile.
Alright, so we're going to end up today with one of the newer bands in the rock music world. It's Band of Horses. Their album Cease to Begin. You know, I've heard a lot of good stuff about this band for quite some time, and I've been meaning to check them out. I just actually got the chance to listen to them today, and you know, it's definitely got some good parts and some bad parts. Now, for me, I thought that some of the heavier, I wouldn't say heavy, because a lot of the heavy stuff wasn't really that heavy, but the more heavy stuff of the album is a lot better and almost very majestic sounding. That's what I took out of it. And, you know, there's a little bit of country mixed in there, and that's cool, you know, that's definitely different. You know, you don't hear that too often, so I liked that. The softer stuff, to me, I don't know, it seemed like there was little something missing, you know. There were some very pretty tracks on there, don't get me wrong, and I liked the singer's voice very much, but overall I think that there was a little something missing on the softer tracks. They sound on the softer tracks, to me, they sounded very similar to the Shins. That's just my thoughts. So if you're a fan of the Shins, you might want to check these guys out. But overall, I did enjoy their music, so, yeah. Alright guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitter and check out my regular blog. I'll see you guys in a few days.